Namaskar, मैं हूँ जोशिनो और इस हफ्ते के ग्राहक प्रश्न उठा को आपके स्वागत है, which is from our big and apparently it means greetings. I'm Joshino and welcome to this week's subscriber question and answer in Hindi. It's probably an absolutely awful pronunciation, but we do like to butcher a language every time this question and answer comes up. Okie dokie, roll on the floor laughing, lol dude asks, question for next week, if you play Planetside 2 on Steam, how many hours have you played? Well, looking on Steam, I've played 2,492 hours. 100 days worth of Planetside, I'm fairly sure. In my last Q&A, I was talking about the VR headset thing I'd just gotten. 96 Sam Cosmo asked, question for next week, what is it that you can do with your VR device that you weren't initially saying? And then, Horan Dump is Caro says, some other things which I won't mention on this video. Just me, or is it good for porn? Let's face it, it's a new device giving 3D imaging, and there is pornography out there. And to be fair, there isn't really much free stuff, so what I have seen isn't very intensive. But yeah, it is almost like being a male porn star. Looking down, you can see your own wang, and then you're in the room with somebody else. It's interesting. Gavin Fryer says, Joshino, question, would you rather have boats or motorcycles in Planetside 2? If you play Planetside 1, the Sundra type vehicles, I don't remember what they're called, they were like APCs, could actually go in water, and it was quite interesting having these water battles over rivers. And unlike Planetside 2, where the bridge fights are over massive drops, they used to have bridge fights over water, so you'd have the APCs in the water and you'd have tanks and the mechs crossing over the bridge, and like fire would be going over all ways, and there'd be fights in the water, fights in the bridge, and it was pretty epic. Also, I'd like to have, well, not boats, but maybe like boat tanks. Jeremy Claw says, what are your opinions on players that exploit bugs whilst thinking they are not exploiting, or not caring that they are exploiting? Well, I think if somebody exploits a bug and it's a one-off, then it's not really their fault. They probably didn't know. Some people might fall through the map and then shoot around for a bit, and they don't really realise what they're doing until perhaps afterwards. And I don't think they really deserve punishment, but if they're told by a GM or a lot of players that they're being reported and that they're, to get out of there, obviously they should get on and stop exploiting. And I think that people that keep exploiting bugs should at least be warned by the PS2 staff and maybe banned for short periods of time, although the exploit isn't just the player's fault because it's part of the bug or the design of the game. But if it depends how bad it is. I think the people that were completely exploiting that sticky grenade thing going through the shield probably should have been punished harsher, or punished at all really, if they kept on doing it over and over again. Royalty says, thank you for all the support you've given me. Okay, my question is, what inspires you? It can be anything that inspires you for any reason. Thank you, and keep inspiring people. I suppose that a lot of my peers inspire me. I think to keep it in the YouTube community, people like Ral and Kamikaze and everybody that I get along with all inspire me in certain ways. And I guess I get my inspiration off of writers. Especially Ian M. Banks is one of my biggest inspirations. He wrote the Culture series, and he was looking at basically what life would be like after we sort of leave normal societies and technologies advanced so far that we can basically do what we want because everything can be created for us, and people are living on these artificial massive societies, and part of this culture, which is like a collective of different, I don't know whether they're different races, but they basically, and there's basically free choice in everything. People change their genders all the time. So people can just be like, I want to be a woman, I want a child, they turn into a woman. They want to be a man, they just do that. If they want to like change their brain, they can change their brain. It's all very interesting. There's still problems in it. Obviously there's problems, but it's just a way of looking at what the future may be like. And I'm a big sci-fi nerd. I suppose on that vein as well, I'm quite inspired by people like Neil deGrasse Tyson or Carl Sagan, for example. Just people that think outside of the box and are coming up with ideas for the future, really. Although there really are quite a lot of inspirations and different type of inspirations on every different level. Andy Dye says, hey Josh, I'm in a debate club and recently we have started discussing controversial topics, and one recent debate about abortion got really heated. I wanted to ask one of my most favourite people in the world, you, thank you very much, your opinion on abortion. Are you pro-life or pro-choice, and explain why? In the UK, there isn't really actually that much of a opinion for pro-life, unlike America's, where there's quite a big issue with the conservative groups against abortion. The issue in the, because abortion is sort of accepted in the UK, but the issue in the UK at the moment is about changing the genes before children are born, and the arguments against designer babies and things like that. And the scientists are arguing for that we should change the genes of, I think that it's developing embryos that show signs of diseases that may impact them on birth, basically. The one thing that I'll say before talking about abortion is that the problem I have with a lot of fundamentalists or right-wing people is that they say that life is sacred. However, once that child is outside of the womb, that child doesn't have any love, it doesn't have any support, it doesn't matter once the child's born. I mean, I think that the argument that the embryo or the baby developing inside of a womb is sacred is all great if there was a support network to look after that child, and that child's life would be of a good quality. I mean, I think there's the big problem I see it is that if the child's not going to be loved, it's going to be passed around social services, it's going to have major deformities that are going to affect its life all the way through, or make life unbearable, or the woman's been raped and not going to have a mother and she just can't bear to give birth. There's lots of factors to take in consideration when you take abortions, and being completely pro-life, I just think, is not accepting the reality that we live in and not summing up the positives against the negatives. And even if you take away all of the bad sides of it all, as a non-religious person, I don't see the embryo as having a soul, or whatever you may call it, or that the fact that denying it life is the same as murder. We know that the embryos can't think, they don't have developed brains, they don't have a consciousness, and there are regulations in place how late the baby can be aborted. And as I said before, really you need to take into consideration what life will be like after the birth, not whilst they're in the womb. It doesn't really matter whilst they're in the womb, because they don't have a consciousness, they don't have a personality, they don't have anything. I'm a massive humanist, and I believe that every person deserves the best, basically, and a baseline of living standards, which most of the world just doesn't have, and even in the UK we don't have. Anyway, I know that some people may be upset about that, but remember that it's my opinion, and you too are very welcome to your own opinion. I'd also like to apologise, I've had quite a bad week this week, I've had problems at work, and then also I tried to cheer myself up, I thought I'll buy myself a new mic setup, and the box that comes with the mic, basically it's like an amp, and it gives power to the microphone. It didn't work, so I've had to send that back off again, and I spent a day trying to fix that, and it's just sort of demotivated me, because I was so up for doing new videos with this microphone and having a better voice, well, making my voice be picked up in all of its tonal range, rather than the snowball's fine, but I do just want something a bit more punchy, a bit more radio-like. Anyway, thank you all very much for watching. Please, please, please ask a question for next week in the comment section below, and I'll be sure to answer them. If you enjoyed the video, give it a like. If you don't enjoy it, give it a thumbs down, and please do subscribe to me so you can hear and see more of me and more of my antics. Until next time, everybody, Joshino.